Okay, this video is going to be going over the Unit 7 test. So for this first one, we want to solve these triangles. Okay, the first thing I'm going to solve for is this little c. Okay, so I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem. So I'm going to have 12 squared plus 13 squared is equal to c squared. Okay, that gives me 144 plus 169 is equal to c squared. Which gives me 313 is equal to c squared, square root, we get 17.7 is equal to c. Okay, so there's that one. Now to find these two angles, I'll start with angle B. We're going to have tangent of B is equal to opposite, which is 13 over adjacent, gives me 12. Okay, get B by itself using the inverse. So we have B is equal to the inverse tangent of 13 over 12. Plug that into your calculator, we get B is equal to 47.3 degrees. Okay, so B, we have 47.3 degrees. Okay, then we have angle A, so same thing, tangent of A is equal to opposite 12 over adjacent 13. Use the inverse, we get A is equal to the inverse of tangent of 12 over 13. Gives me A is equal to 42.7 degrees. Okay, so there's the first one. Second one, we have this non-right triangle. Okay, so I can't use SOHCAHTOA for this one. So now I got to use law of sines. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find this angle right here. Well, this whole triangle needs to add up to 180. So this will give me 30 degrees right there. So angle B is 30 degrees. Okay. Now I have a side. Now I have an angle where I can set up law of sines. So I'm going to have 17 over the sine of 30. Okay. Let's find A first. So we'll have A over sine of 62. Okay, multiply by sine of 62 on both sides. So this gives me 17 times the sine of 62 over the sine of 30 is equal to A. Plug that into our calculators, we get 30.02 is equal to A. Okay, or we could round that to 30 as well. Okay, then let's find C. So we're going to use the same ratio, 17 over sine of 30 is equal to C over the sine of 88. Okay, multiply by sine of 88 on both sides. I get 17 times the sine of 88 over the sine of 30 is equal to C. Plug that into our calculator, we get 34 is equal to C. Okay, there's the front page. Okay, number 2, we have a drone flies 300 feet above the ground. The angle of depression from the drone to the pizza place is 75 degrees. The angle of depression from the drone to Chick-fil-A is 12 degrees. How far apart are these two restaurants? Okay. Now there's two ways we could go about this. I think most did it the way I'm going to show here. So we'll do that one. So here's the drone. Okay, it's 300 feet in the air. Okay. Now the angle of depression, remember it starts at horizontal, is created right here as it goes down from this horizontal line. So 12 degrees, which makes this 78 degrees. Okay, and then this is Chick-fil-A out here. Okay, then the pizza place, angle of depression of 75 degrees. So remember, this creates the 75 degrees right here. So that means this angle is 15 degrees. Okay, there's my right triangle. Boom. Okay, now we need to find, well, here's the pizza place, the distance between these two restaurants. Okay, so we need to find x and we need to find y, add them together, and see how far these restaurants apart. So let's find x first. So it's going to be the tangent of 15 is equal to x over 300. Okay, right, because opposite over adjacent. So we're going to have 300 times the tangent of 15 is equal to x. So we get 80.4 feet is equal to x. There's that one. Now we got to find y. Well, we're going to have the tangent of 78 is equal to y over 300. Okay, multiply by 300. We get 300 times tangent of 78 is equal to y. Plug that into our calculators. We get 1,411.4 feet. Okay, and then the total distance, we need to add those two together. When we add those two together, we get the total distance is equal to 1,491.8 feet. There's my answer for that one. Okay, next one, we want to find all these trig ratios. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle. So my right angle, we'll call this theta. That means this is 5 times the square root of 2, and this is 2. Okay, now we got to find this other side here. We're going to use Pythagorean Theorem. So we're going to have 2 squared plus b squared is equal to 5 times the square root of 2 squared. So we're going to have 4 plus b squared is equal to, we get 50. Then we get b squared is equal to 46. Square root, we get b is equal to the square root of 46. Okay, so now we find all our trig ratios. So sine would be 2 over 5 times the square root of 2. Cosine, remember adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's square root of 46 over 5 times the square root of 2. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Okay, secant is just the reciprocal of cosine. So it's going to be 5 square root of 2 over the square root of 46. And then cotangent, just the reciprocal of tangent. So it's going to be 46 over 2. Okay, there's those ratios. Moving on to number 4. Okay, find secant of theta. And we're given this triangle. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to notice that cosine of theta is just the reciprocal of secant. So let's find the cosine first, and then we'll just flip it. Okay, in order to find cosine, though, I need to find this adjacent side here. So I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem. We get 18 squared plus b squared is equal to 6 times the square root of 10 squared. This gives me 324 plus b squared is equal to 360. Gives me b squared is equal to 36. Square root, I get b is equal to 6. Awesome. So that means my cosine now is 6 over 6 times the square root of 10. Secant, all I have to do is flip it. So we get 6 times the square root of 10 over 6. These cancel out. I get secant of theta is equal to the square root of 10. Boom. All right. So Sam and Bucky are arguing about which one of them got the right answer to a question. The question asked them to find the sine of an angle. Here are their answers. Okay. Well, here, Sam is the one that is right. Okay. Bucky cannot be right because let's look at this ratio. So if we had a triangle here and say this is theta, well, this is saying the sine of theta is equal to the opposite 5 over the hypotenuse, which is 4 here. Well, yikes, the hypotenuse has to be the longest side. Here, Bucky's answer, it is not, so Bucky cannot be right. All right, and then on to the last page, we need to find angle A. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a picture. So So we have our picture here. We'll label this A, C, and B, which makes this 4, this 5, this 98 degrees. Cool, that would be C. Okay. So in order to find A, we're going to need to set up, well, first solve for C, so then we can use the law of sines to solve for A. Okay, so if we use the law of cosines first, to find C, we're going to have C squared is equal to 5 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 times 5 times 4 is cosine of 98. Okay, do some simplifying. I get C squared is equal to 41 minus 40 times cosine of 98. Square root both sides. I get C is equal to the square root of 41 minus 40 times cosine of 98. Awesome, plug that into my calculator. I get C is equal to 9 or 6.8. So now I know C is equal to 6.8. Now I can use the law of sines. So I'm going to have 6.8 over sine of 98. And we're trying to solve for angle A here, so I'm going to do 4 over sine of A. Awesome, I'm going to cross multiply here. So I get 6.8 times the sine of A is equal to 4 times the sine of 98. This gives me sine of A is equal to 4 times the sine of 98 over 6.8. Take the inverse. I get A is equal to the inverse of sine of 4 times the sine of 98 over 6.8. Plug that in my calculator. I get angle A is equal to 35.6 degrees.